Hello everyone. So my name is Flanny. I'm one of the student reps, along with Talia, and we also got DL. Um, Thank you for joining us here today. We're joined by Jay Gandhi, who is the CSP BAME Network Vice Chair and a senior physiotherapist who's worked both in private practice and in a hospital. So he's going to be speaking today about belonging, identity, and how lived experience can shape our confidence and help with our career development and leadership in physio and healthcare and beyond. So we joined here with Jay today. Thank you again, Jay, for doing this with us.
Absolute pleasure, Flani, Talia, and DL. Nice to see you all. Thank you, Rajkumarji, for having me here. So good evening, everyone. I'm sure there'll be a few more people joining throughout, and I hope this session is as engaging as possible. I am somebody who is a little bit old school, so I have not gone with a presentation style. Um, Fortunately, we don't have as many participants, which means that we can interact, engage, and speak to each other in the comments as well. And as Flanny said, we will follow this up with a Q&A. So there will be opportunity for everybody to ask questions at the end of the session. Um, but if there is anybody who's quite keen to ask a question, please feel free to raise their hands. And I would appreciate the moderating team to look out for the comments in the chat. Right. So again, to start my session today, a very good evening to everyone, and thank you for joining us on what is a nice Tuesday evening from London here. My name is Jay Gandhi, and I am a senior musculoskeletal physiotherapist, and currently very proud to be the vice chair of the CSP BAME network. Before we begin, as I said, I just want to say that I'm really glad that this is a smaller group. It gives us a unique opportunity or a chance to have a more meaningful conversation rather than a one-way presentation. So today's session is called You Belong and Your Journey Matters. And this is part of a wonderful webinar series curated by our dynamic student members all the way from Cardiff. The reason that this title resonates with me is because my own journey into becoming a physiotherapist has been shaped by many different experiences, challenges, and moments of growth. So this journey really started for me when I moved to the UK from India as an 18-year-old boy. Seems many, many years ago. And just like many international students, I arrived with ambition, I arrived with excitement, and a lot of uncertainty. You're in a new country, a completely new system, a new culture, and at the same time, you're trying to succeed academically and professionally. I went on to graduate as a physiotherapist in 2018. After graduating, I started working in the NHS in East Yorkshire. Um, I grew through the ranks, spent several years in Yorkshire developing my clinical skills, learning how the healthcare systems work, and growing into the profession. Um, in 2022, I moved to central London where I continued my work as a senior musculoskeletal physiotherapist, both in the NHS and the private sector. But alongside the clinical journey, something else started becoming very important to me. I started recognizing how important it is for healthcare professionals to feel that they truly belong in this profession, in what I call a very diverse and meaningful profession. Um, so just just a reminder, if anybody who's not speaking, if they can put themselves on mute, we would really appreciate that. Thank you. Um, so belonging is a simple word, and it might sound as a very simple concept, but in reality, it is incredibly powerful. When people feel that they belong, they tend to speak up more. They share ideas, they grow, and ultimately they become better clinicians and leaders. But when people feel like outsiders, when people don't feel like they belong, on the contrary, it can affect confidence, it can affect career progression, and it can affect even your personal well-being. Many students and early career professionals go through these moments where they question themselves. Do I fit here? Am I good enough? Do I deserve to be in this profession? Have you had these questions to yourself? So I want to say something very clearly. If you have ever felt that way, you are not alone. So this is the first question that I'm going to invite you to answer. So I want to hear from you in the comments, each and every one of you if possible. Has anyone ever experienced imposter syndrome during their studies or placement? Please feel free to answer in comments. Let's have a couple of moments discussing this. So we have comments from Patricia saying it resonates with me. Saskia has said, yes, definitely. There's comments from Amy. Hello, Amy. Yes, quite a few placements. Many peers have mentioned this. DL says, yes, we definitely have as well. Thank you for engaging in the comments. I'm going to talk about one of the things that I have learned during my journey here. And that is that our identities and our lived experiences shape the kind of healthcare professionals we become. And it doesn't always have to be directly, it is directly or indirectly. So I'm looking at each and every one in your eyes and mentioning, okay, your culture, your upbringing, your mannerisms, your individual life experiences, all of these factors influence how you understand people. All these factors influence your worldviews, how you communicate with your patients, and how do you respond to challenges. So, in healthcare, we often talk about technical skills, we often talk about clinical reasoning, we often talk about evidence based practice, and all of these factors are very important. But on a broader scale, what is also very important is empathy. What is also very important is cultural awareness. And there are a set of couple of words that I really like is being human. We are all human beings, but being human is just as very important. Um, so to this, I say that your lived experience is not a weakness in healthcare. It is one of your greatest strengths. And again, this is a quote that is stuck to me in multiple opportunities. So I'm going to repeat myself again. So your lived experience is not a weakness in healthcare. It is one of your greatest strengths. I'm going to now talk about what I want to call a leadership lesson. So something else that I want to share with you all is that leadership doesn't necessarily begin when you reach a senior role. I remember when I graduated, I felt that, okay, if the peak of the mountain is when I will be a band 7 clinical lead. That is as far as I could envision being a junior physiotherapist, growing through the ranks, becoming a band 6 physiotherapist, and then eventually working for a good few years to become a band 7 clinical lead. And again, they say the grass is always green on the other side uh, of the grass. So what I have learned in that process is leadership begins much earlier. And I'm sure my journey, and to everybody who can relate with me, would also think that their journey started much earlier as well. It begins when you support a colleague who's struggling. The leadership journey begins when you advocate for a patient who's vulnerable. It begins when you raise your hand and say, you know what, this could be done better. And I did not see myself as a leader. My faint memories take me back to my childhood when my mom often told me, be a tree, be expansive, and offer shelter to those who are vulnerable. And these words echoed in my ears, but at that point when I was young, it did not make any sense to me. It's like, Mom, what are you on about? What do you mean by be a tree? But over time, I realized that leadership is really about service. It's about asking yourself one question: how can I make the journey better for those people who come after me? And in this journey, I'm so grateful that I have been able to pave my way to make individual experiences much better. Um, so again, how can I make this journey better for the people who come after me? Um, Talking about that, I've just had some more comments from Jesutoe. Uh, every shade we enjoy was a tree planted by someone before us. How true, right? So just talking about my role, I have touched on my role within the professional side. I want to have a touch on what my role is within the CSP BAME network as well. And the things that we've just spoken about is exactly why networks like the CSP BAME network exist. And the purpose of our network is not to divide people. The purpose is to support, this purpose is to mentor and amplify voices that might otherwise go unheard. It is about creating spaces where people feel safe to share and grow professionally, because no one should feel like they are navigating their career alone. And I'm so grateful to work alongside a very enthusiastic and dynamic leadership committee. We have taken quite a few initiatives forward in terms of our CSP BAME network, such as creating a pastoral support group where we have several members who have lived experience of going through processes, the legal side of things, supporting individuals who are going through employment tribunals, um, and all the complex stuff which CSP offers multiple avenues for support with. And we stand proud to be able to offer pastoral support to these vulnerable individuals who want to talk to somebody they can trust, who want to talk to somebody who has had that lived experience. Another initiative that I would love to talk about is our HCPC audit support group, which is an initiative that started as a WhatsApp group started with us wanting to offer support to BME individuals who have been audited, who are new in the country, who don't know the process, to create a peer-to-peer support group. Again, this group is not necessarily just for BME individuals, it's open to everybody. And this is our round two this year where we are promoting the HCPC audit support group. So grateful to be part of these initiatives, with a small goal that no one should feel that they are navigating their career alone. So, as I said, I'm so grateful to be able to lead a team of such enthusiasts who are so determined and willing to make the lived experience of other BME individuals a lot better. We are very soon going to be having our AGM in April, where we'll be recruiting for a vacant role, which is for a student officer to work alongside us in the CSP BAME network leadership team, or our committee. And this is a wonderful opportunity for me to be able to request or invite applications for dynamic individuals to join us and expand our reach amongst fellow BME students. Um, and this includes my invitation to individuals like Thalia, Flanny, DL. You guys have done such a wonderful role to start the web series, like the ones that we are in today. I want to leave you guys with something really, really special. And I was spending the last 2 to 3 weeks of how will I be able to do that? Um, because slowly and steadily, I am realizing that I am in the value adding business. So I have come up with this. I don't know how much value will we be able to gain from this. Um, but yes, I do want to give you all three ideas that helped me during my journey. Um, the first one, many of us think of it in reverse manner, but our confidence usually comes after the action, not before. And thinking about imposter syndrome, where I used to think, okay, how in this world am I going to be able to feel confident to be able to see a patient on my own? And this was a wandering thought when I was in my placement years. And now, when I look back, what I call my patient mileage has gone so far that I couldn't necessarily relate to that version of me who was questioning myself. So, the first, again, confidence comes after action, not before. And once you have done something, you learn from it. And our profession teaches us a wonderful tool of reflection. Most people don't feel ready when they take on new opportunities. They grow into confidence through that form of experience. And this has taken me so far in my journey. It has made me feel confident to try new things. And when it works, it is so gratifying. But when it doesn't, it becomes a wonderful learning experience. The second idea that I'm going to leave you guys with today is your perspective and your worldviews matter. We are not in this world trying to see who's right, who's wrong. Healthcare works best when the workforce reflects the communities it serves. So, your perspectives and your lived experience matters. And the third one, which helped me a lot in my belonging journey, is find your community early. Find your people who speak your language early. Find people who understand your language early. Surrounding yourself with people who support your growth and people who challenge you to improve has been something that has shaped me in ways I could never think of. So leading to this, I'm gonna ask y'all a reflective question. And I want you all to take a minute and think about this. And if comfortable, if confident, speak to me in the comments. Think about the kind of physiotherapist you want to become in the next 5 years. And again, sometimes I appreciate reflections can be personal, but for those who feel comfortable, please write to me in your comments. The question is think about the kind of physiotherapist you want to become in the next 5 years. The floor is open to everyone. Jesutoe, thank you for your comments. Thank you for adding the 3 actionable points and ideas. Saskia, you want to become a physiotherapist that is trustworthy and a continuous learner to always better yourself for your patients. So positive to hear this. Jessica, I hope to become an empathetic chronic pain specialist in physiotherapy. Thank you for contributing, guys. And again, this question is not necessarily just in terms of skills, but in terms of the impact you want to deliver. We have Suzanne who said that I want to be more confident to create a safe space for my colleagues to speak up and grow. Thank you, Suzanne. That's such a wonderful thought. And you being present today shows that you really want to add that form of impact and value. So thank you for your contribution. Okay, Amy, I want to be a physiotherapist that is a great team worker as well as a leader. Brilliant, Amy. Thank you. I think I'm going to give 30 more seconds to see if there is anybody who is in the comments. Hello, Patricia. So nice to hear you saying having been BME student officer allows me to open my horizons. I was focused on. Now you're open to research and transferable skills and ethnically focused to bridge the gap in patient disparities. Thank you, Patricia. It's wonderful working with you. A big thank you to you as well, to exploring this conversation. Right. Okay, I'm going to move on to the second question that I want everybody to reflect on today. What do you want your patients to say about you? How do you want your patients to remember you? Let's have a few more seconds to think about this. And if you're comfortable, please feel free to talk to me in the comments. Amy says friendly, trustworthy, and enjoyable sessions. Hello, Shri. Nice to hear from you. Shri is also one of our most influential leaders. Thank you for being part of this session. You're saying in the next 5 years, you are hoping to contribute strategically and at a ground level. So humbling to hear this from an inspirational leader. Patricia, that you listened and included them in all aspects of their treatments. I'll give it a few more seconds to people who want to contribute and join for this question. What do you want your patients to say about you? Saskia very nicely said that you advocated for them and empowered them. Jesuto says, I want my patients to always leave with a smile and improved confidence and their sessions. And sometimes it's humbling how impactful our profession is, and it can be, especially when we are in the giving business. I'm going to give a few more seconds to see if there is somebody else who wants to contribute to this question. Hello, Jane. Jane is our pastoral support officer who's been very inspirational. Thank you, Jane, for joining us today. To be seen as as a therapist who truly understood their feelings and made a significant impact on their quality of life. And I have somebody else who says iPhone. I don't see a name here, but a clinician that is empathetic and made them feel good after their session. So thank you, everybody, for contributing. My next question to you is quite predictable, but what do you want colleagues to say about working with you? And again, I'm just trying to make you guys think in a direction where you see the bigger picture, see where you are in your current journey and where do you see yourself? How do you want to be perceived by your patients and by your colleagues? So, this question is, what do you want your colleagues to say about working with you? How do you want them to remember you? And I would welcome a few more comments in the chat. Patricia, thank you for contributing again that you are cooperative, you're respectful of their diagnosis and understanding. That's brilliant. Femi, you want your colleagues to feel safe and empowered. Thank you for joining us today. To be a team player and a good leader. Thank you for contributing, Suzanne, that you take actions that help people feel they belong and can thrive. Brilliant. I'm going to give it 30 more seconds to see if there are any last comments. Including all and promoting a safe, diverse workspace. Thank you, Amy. And Rajkumarji, you want your colleagues to feel safe. And it's wonderful you say that because there is a clinical safety and there is a psychological safety element to this as well, isn't it? Thank you, Shri. You want to give them a feeling that they will be listened to when they come to you and that they may get useful guidance. Brilliant. Grishma, that you are a supportive and a reliable team member. And again, if you can see the comments, these things are so meaningful and go such a long way. So the three questions that we have at least thought about today is oh, there is Jane as well. Let me answer, let me pick up on this first. Jane, a colleague whose presence creates no pressure. Amazing. And this is music to my ears because this is the message that I'm trying to spread across today, that you matter, your perspectives matter, and you thinking about the kind of physiotherapist you want to become in the next 5 years is also going to shape how people are around you and how you can come across as somebody who is not only a team member, is a good communicator, but also somebody who wants to deliver that form of value. Thinking of the patients, what they think of you is also very important in the sense um, that you want to create a long lasting impression. Obviously, you want to offer your clinical expertise to the patients, but you want to be in a position where you are offering support which may be life changing for these patients. So, and the third one that we've reflected on today is what we expect our colleagues or people we work with, and what do they say about working with you. And again, these three questions are questions that have taken me very far in my life journey. So I'm very grateful today to be leaving you with these questions. So if there is this one message, and I hope you take this away today, um, and it is this, that you belong in this profession. Your journey matters, your voice matters, and the future of physiotherapy, not just the future of physiotherapy will not just be shaped by those already in leadership positions, but by people who are students like you, who are junior physiotherapists like you, who are senior physiotherapists like you, who care about improving this profession. And this is not a sprint, this is a marathon, and we want to all be in this together and improve the profession. So I'm so grateful for everybody who's taken time on their Tuesday evening to be here today. And thank you for being here. I would be very open to share my experiences further by your questions. So I'm gonna open the floor to everybody and invite you to talk to me for the next 25 minutes. Thank you. Rajkumarji, should we start with you asking me a question to break the ice?
Yes, Jay. Oh, there is a question already.
Oh, brilliant.
Somebody has
Okay.
broken the ice already.
Amazing. Okay. Saskia, how have you managed imposter syndrome? I think you mean syndrome with my leadership journey. And that's an excellent question. Um, and I'll be very honest with you. I understood or I learned the label of imposter syndrome only 4 to 5 years ago during COVID. Um, and then on reflection, the feeling of imposter syndrome was very familiar. However, the label came quite late. So to reflect on this, how did I deal with, sorry, let me be a little bit more specific. How did I manage imposter syndrome with my leadership journey? So for me, um, I fondly remember turning 18 and coming to this country the day after I turned 18. And this was a completely new world to me. So everything was a learning experience, and there were a lot of things that I wasn't confident in. I wasn't confident communicating. I wasn't confident being the first one to raise my hand, ask a question. So what helped me is action. And to go back to one of the things that I mentioned, that confidence usually comes after action, not before. So I was never afraid to dip my toes in cold water, understand what was expected of me, perform the task that was expected of me, and then reflect on it. So I believe that is something that helped me ground myself in the moment, to not necessarily think of the outcome, to focus on the task at hand, and deliver it to the best of my abilities, because that was something that was in my control. And I believe this is something that grounded me in my leadership journey. And do I deal with it a little bit more differently? With experience, with time, things do get better. You get better at predicting things. But again, it is very important to keep yourself grounded in the moment, in the present. Um, it's important to be risk averse. However, when you are in the middle of doing things, it's also important to keep yourself grounded, focus on the task at hand rather than overthinking about the outcome too much. So, yeah, that's how I managed my imposter syndrome within my leadership journey. I hope that helps. We have another question from Trish. What would you advise to someone that is experiencing imposter syndrome to go for a senior role? Wow. Okay, so this is again quite similar to the previous question, but a lot more specific. And Trish, I absolutely love this question because um, this is one of my experiences where I have felt the most amount of imposter syndrome, if I had to give it a percentage. And I was being mentored by the chief executive of my organization when I applied for a senior role, and my senior role was a big jump from being a band 6 senior physio to a band 8A AHP workforce lead. And I couldn't imagine myself applying for this role. Um, and I had reached out to my chief executive who was mentoring me at that point. And I just opened up saying, I would love to apply for this role, but I don't think I have this. And there was one thing that he mentioned at that point, that if you are thinking of it, that means you are ready to apply for it. And what's the worst that will happen? The worst that will happen is that you won't be shortlisted or interviewed. And when that happens, you go for the next role. And I was like, that sounds much easier. So I think for me, the emphasis in here was just to focus on the task at hand rather than overthinking the outcome. So I might be repeating myself here, but I'm somebody who's a big believer in grounding myself to what is the task at hand. Obviously, there is an element of competence which comes into this picture. We are applying for a senior role. So my question to myself in that form of realistic manner is, am I competent to fulfill this role? Do I have the relevant essential criteria, desirable criteria to be able to deliver on the KPIs? And that form of realism is very important, um, because that will also be something that will reflect in the interview process. So yeah, a combination of grounding yourself to be in the present, combination of realism in terms of competence, and then your drive. So I encourage everybody to be applying for senior roles, um, because eventually that is going to be something that is going to give you the experience to be able to get that role. So yes, thank you, Trish. I hope that answers your question. We have a question from Amy. Can you go into a bit more about managing reflection and a busy workload? Okay, another brilliant question, Amy. Um, and I would love to understand, Amy, if you're a student or if you are already in work. Um, so yes, if you can let me know that, that would be brilliant. Okay, so managing reflection and a busy workload. So I don't think of reflection as an additional task. Okay, brilliant. So you're a student from Southampton University. Amazing. Thank you for joining us today. In terms of managing reflection and a busy workload, reflection is something that over time has become part and parcel of what I call my modus operandi, the way I operate, the way I work. And every time I deal with a task, may it be professionally, may it be personally, I am somebody who naturally reflects. Now, as a student, I appreciate you are expected to have that form of written reflections. And I was very grateful that I went through that process to be able to be somebody who can reflect in writing. But again, from my point of view, in my professional practice or my professional journey, I am somebody who likes to reflect a lot more mentally than in writing. Um, so yeah, reflection has become more of a mental thing for me. So keeping that completely aside with a busy workload, then there is an element of prioritization. So eventually, when you are a student, you would be thinking of things in models. You would be thinking of reflection as a separate task. You would be thinking of managing a workload as a different task. And there are different elements that fuel up or fill up your day. So over time, my practice of reflection, which again was a lot more mental before, but as a student, there was a significant emphasis on having that form of reflection in writing, did help me. However, having that form of mental reflection alongside managing workload is the balance that I was able to find. A lovely word that I like to use is finding that form of equilibrium or finding that form of balance of managing both. And then, if needs be, if there is an incident which is important enough, you could then reflect on it in writing at a later stage. So maybe if you are focusing on a very busy workload, like MSK can be quite a busy setting, for example. Um, not just MSK, but again, being clinic based, I would focus on managing my workload, which is immediately in front of me, and then eventually focusing on reflecting at the end of the day or reflecting it within that form of 24-hour period in writing. So, yeah, I hope that helps. I'm happy to take on follow-up questions as well if there is anything, as I can see, we still have some time.
Jay,
Yes, Rajkumarji,
can I make use of the time to ask you one question
of
from
course.
your initial speech you gave?
Sure.
Okay. You said, if you feel belonged, you will speak up.
Yeah.
Can you share any of your speaking up experience, please?
Okay. When you say speaking experience,
Speaking up, you
oh, yeah. I think I have become notoriously unpopular for speaking up these days. But sure, I would love to share um, my experience in terms of belonging. I am somebody who likes to put myself in multiple uncomfortable scenarios. And this is what gives me the drive to speak up, because I'm somebody who, when I came here, I had to go through quite a few experiences where I did not have the confidence, the right words, or the ability to speak up. But recently, if I look at myself now, I'm somebody who will not miss an opportunity if I have to speak up. Um, so, Rajkumarji, do you want me to focus on one specific scenario where I have spoken up for somebody?
Yes, please. I want that to inspire our students here
Okay,
to speak up.
sure. Okay. So, I'm trying to think of a very specific example. Um, I'm going to use a example where I had a student that I was mentoring, and within that mentorship, I came across uh, a particular incident which I cannot go into the crux of, um, but they shared with me something that was not necessarily legally correct. And for those of you who know me, I do have some form of legal strategy experience where I can guide them into dealing with issues. And so for me, I had to understand that matter in depth to understand that, okay, this is the exact timeline of events that has happened. Um, Thereafter, we managed to make a bit of a plan for the student to reach out to their course leader in a firm yet respectful manner, asking them if they were aware of the incident that happened. Um, and To our surprise, when we did hear back, the course leader wasn't necessarily aware of the experience that the student had gone through. And this was a BME individual, and there were um, some form of issues in terms of the cultural awareness, cultural competence, um, and the student did not feel that they were respected in the best manner. Um, and then speaking about it, this opened that form of dialogue with the course leader, and the course leader arranged a meeting between the placement coordinator and the student. And the student was very shy, so they asked me if I could represent them or be present. To which I was like, it would not be possible for me to represent them, as this was not a hearing of any kind. It was an informal conversation. But I did say that I was happy to be present if needs be. And in that moment, things happened very professionally. There was an element of the placement coordinator not necessarily being aware that they had done something which affects the values of the student. Um, and They very happily took that form of feedback on once they were a lot more aware. And the greatest achievement out of this is that led to becoming part of the student policy within the university. So that form of cultural competency for those lacking that form of awareness was something that we were able to implement within the policy. Again, this is not a very recent example. This was something which was in early to mid 2025, so last year. So I was very grateful to be part of that conversation informally, which led to it being part of the policy. So yeah, Rajkumarji, I hope that fulfills or answers your question.
Yes, Jay. Brilliant. Thank you. There is a follow-up question, but it's not from me. It's from Amy Smith.
Okay. Okay, I'm just checking now. Amy is saying, how can I be an advocate for those experiencing difficulties in the workplace linked to EDI? Thank you, Amy. That's a brilliant question. And I would invite you to have a further conversation with us within the CSP BAME network. Not just BAME. So BAME focuses on the race-related um, issues. However, we also have a LGBTQIA plus network. We have a disability network. Within the CSP, we have the Equality, Diversity, Belonging Committee. So there are multiple strands, or as I call, branches of a tree, that there are access to. And I think one of the things that I did mention is find your community early. And I wish I had done that when I was a student, but you guys being present today shows that you are active, you want to engage in that form of community. So I can see some form of interest, and we would be happy to invite you with open arms, where you can understand how we work, learn, build your awareness, and then eventually you will become an advocate for those experiencing difficulties, especially in relation to EDI. And again, talking about people experiencing difficulties, or being an advocate, I think for me, a thought matters. You wanting to contribute to the community is naturally something that makes you an advocate. So, firstly, it is identifying what is going wrong. Once you have that understanding of identifying, then you can speak up about it. And when you do speak up, obviously, you might not be the most powerful person in the room who might have that form of ability to change things, but you might know somebody who has that form of access. Um, and sometimes it's not about what you know, it's about who you know. So, what are the relevant channels, how you can escalate things to? Because that also becomes part of you advocating. And I'm sure people that you advocate for will find that form of value in the work that you do. So I hope that helps, Amy. Trish, I said that the earliest you find your community, the better. Can I please advise or signpost where to find that physio community? For me, I found my community with the CSP BAME network. And 3 years down the line, I'm still so grateful to be part of this community. And if you know me, I am not much of a talker or a sharer. But being part of this community has helped me talk a lot more, open up a lot more, and share things. Um, and sometimes it doesn't necessarily have to be only focused on the technical and clinical skills. So another thing we are proud of is we have our BME network WhatsApp chat, and we see range of different messages on there. Sometimes it is about the HCPC audit, sometimes it's about a clinical question, sometimes it's about a job interview question, sometimes it is about the questions that we've had in this chat. How do you feel comfortable and confident of applying for a senior role? Having that form of peer-to-peer support is not something um, that you can discount. And again, for me, it is about understanding what is it that you are looking from your community. And once you have the answer to that question, that this is what I'm seeking from the community, naturally it is the direction that you're going to go in. Um, Within the to be specific to students, when I was a student, there were so many different societies in the university. This is also a community. So to make the most of these communities that align with your interest is something that I would talk about. And again, more often than not, um, as a student, I'm going to talk about myself. I did not have much awareness of what the CSP did. So this is my reason why I was quite late in joining the CSP. But other than that, the CSP already has those form of established communities. So sometimes it's not necessarily about reinventing the wheel. It is also about finding what is out there, looking at community groups within the locality, within the university. So, yeah, I think for me, those are the three directions that I would look for: looking at local communities, looking at university societies, and a wonderful resource is the Chartered Society of Physiotherapy. So, yeah, I hope that helps. Okay. Any other questions? I think we are doing really well with time, which is not normally the case. Okay, if there is no further questions from anybody, I'm gonna take time to thank you everybody, or thank everybody for being here on a Tuesday evening. I know some people have Champions League game to watch, but thank you, Shri, for being part of that and listening in. And thank you everybody else for being here today. I'm so grateful to talk with you all. I would pass the floor on to DL, Flanny, Thalia.
Yes, thank you, Jay, for that amazing, very inspiring talk. Yeah,
Thank you
Well,
so
it was-
much.
it was very interactive, which was really nice to see.